on Tuesday, Apple launched its Apple 17 series. We've got new iPhones, Apple Watches, and Airpods, and they will hit store shelves and ship to homes starting September 19. But it appears the market and maybe some consumers are not too pleased. Joining us to give insights on this is Isaac Marshall, investor at TLG Capital. Good afternoon, Isaac. It's good to have you join us.
It's so good to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay, so Isaac, investors do not seem too pleased with this new Apple release. Why is that?
Yeah, I think, look, tariffs have been a big driver in U.S. volatility since the beginning of the year, right? And frankly, not just the U.S., I think around the world, like geopolitics is such a key factor. I think when you look at Apple specifically, obviously, the 25% threat that has come upon the company makes a big impact when you think about how much of the S&P has really been driven by these sort of top 5, top 7 market cap companies that dominate the S&P 500, right? So I think, there's a lot of concern about it. At the same time, when you really dive in, every time there have been these different trade debacles in the past, I think a resolution usually comes out. I think even if there's no resolution, when you look at the impact of the 25% tariff, you're really thinking about an impact on margins of 1 to 2% for Apple. Net income margin today is about like 24, 25, so it comes down to what, 22, 23. So I think more likely than take that hit, I think Apple probably finds a way to develop better manufacturing. I think finds a way to create sufficient investment in the U.S. to offset the perception that there's a need to create a 25% tariff. I think the key thing is that Apple has to create the perception that the administration in the U.S. has won something and obtained a concession. And I think that's how what you'll see negotiate over the next 3, 6, 9 months.
Oh, so is that why we saw that nearly 1.5% drop in Apple shares just right after the launch?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's just the market digesting the reality of the tariff. I think the fact that it's only a 1.5% drop, I think reflects the fact that, folks aren't entirely sure how it's going to play out. I think there have been a lot of tariff discussions that started off very, very scary in their announcement. The market reacted strongly, then the tone softened. And then, there was sort of this back and forth dance as the administration tries to, create an incentive for more and more companies to put more manufacturing into the U.S. I think to the extent that Apple does this, I think that there are other changes that have happened on the horizon. For example, the U.S. just changed the way that R&D and CapEx spending is treated from a tax perspective. So more and more R&D will be able to be set off immediately rather than amortized over time in your taxes. So I think, as much as I don't want to call it a wash, because I do think that if Apple fails to follow the dance correctly, I think that there could be repercussions. But in the meeting at the White House, I think Tim Cook seemed pretty open and very constructive in engagement with the administration. So I think I think there's so many variables at play between the tariff input and how taxes will change the costs of U.S. manufacturing, and frankly, how recent technology and AI will improve the efficiency of some of these organizations. I think, that's why I don't think the market reacted that strongly, to be honest, to something as drastic as a 25% tariff announcement.
Hopefully we see Apple rebound from that drop we saw yesterday, especially if it's going to consider local production in the U.S. and considering the cost of production in the U.S. Hopefully it breaks even. Thank you so much, Isaac Marshall, investor at TLG Capital, for sharing your insights. So looking forward to more conversations.
Great chatting with you. Thank you so much.